Hello friends. Today we will discuss the first 2 episodes of the TV series The Handmaid's Tale. In the opening scenes we see a family trying to escape from persecution. However, their car skids off the road. The husband orders his wife and daughter to run to a safe place where they are supposed to meet. Gunshots are heard behind them, but they cannot stop. The pursuers are already very close. The mother and daughter try to hide, but they are found and separated. The woman is knocked unconscious and taken to an unknown location. In the next scene, we see the main character in a room with reinforced protective glass. She is now a handmaid. She wears a red dress and a white bonnet. Her new name is Offred, and her old name is Forbidden. Offred recalls her first day in this house. The mistress asks if she had a bad experience in her previous household. She denies it. Soon, Commander Fred Waterford arrives. The mistress makes it clear that the handmaid cannot have any relationship with her husband, other than those permitted for their common goal. The next morning, Offred goes down to the kitchen, where a woman named Rita is baking bread. It is part of traditional values. She is given food vouchers and sent shopping. Outside, Offred waits for Offglin, as handmaids are not allowed to walk alone. She does not particularly like her companion, considering her too devout. They talk about permitted topics. Seeing a group of girls, Offred remembers her daughter and her husband Luke. In the store, they, like all handmaids, choose food using vouchers. On the way back, they pass a river where bodies of people who tried to resist the new regime hang on the wall. Offred remembers when she first arrived at the Handmaids Training Center. There, Aunt Lydia gave them a lecture about how promiscuity and the lack of restrictions led to a fertility crisis. It was there that she saw her old friend Moira, who had previously been in relationships with women. Handmaids are one of the few categories of women who can still bear children. Their mission now is to serve powerful commanders and their infertile wives. One of the handmaids, Janine, openly defied the new order. She was punished with an electric shock and taken away. The next time she returned, she was missing one eye. As they explained, eyesight is not needed for childbirth. In the present, Offred prepares for the ceremony, a ritual that takes place once a month. She wants only one thing: to find her daughter. In the master's bedroom, the commander reads a passage from the Bible about Rachel, who allowed her husband to have a child with the handmaid Hagar. Everything happens very formally and coldly. Afterward, Mrs. Waterford is left alone and cries. Offred lies in her bed feeling disgusted with herself. She steps onto the balcony and notices Nick watching her. In her room, she remembers how Janine started losing her mind. Moira had to slap her to bring her to her senses. She reminded her that all the disobedient ones are sent to the colonies to clean up toxic waste. Survival there is impossible. June barely managed to calm Janine down and put her to bed. They all needed to keep themselves together to survive as long as possible. Offred saw Nick outside, but there was no black van near the house, so they hadn't come for her. She wondered why he hadn't told anyone. Today was punishment day. The handmaids were taken to a designated area in the woods. Guards with weapons were everywhere. There, Offred met another acquaintance from her past, Janine. She was pregnant and said she had heard that Moira had been sent to the colonies. Offred felt sick from the news. The handmaids knelt as Aunt Lydia announced the unfortunate circumstances that had brought them all here. A man was brought before them. He had forced himself on a handmaid. The handmaids were called forward to form a circle. In the center stood the condemned man. At the sound of a whistle, they were to take justice into their own hands. They did, releasing their anger, pain, and aggression. When Aunt Lydia blew the whistle again, they stopped. The man had no chance of survival. As Offred and Offglin walked home, Offred remembered telling Moira about her pregnancy. Lately, such news had been considered a miracle. Often, if babies survived at all, they were born with severe abnormalities. Offglin told Offred that she felt sorry for her. Then she started reminiscing about life before, which surprised Offred. It turned out that Offglin had simply been afraid to talk about it, assuming Offred was devout. The handmaids had been carefully conditioned to distrust one another. Offglin revealed that she had been married. She and her wife had a son, Oliver. They managed to escape to Canada with the child, but Offglin herself was caught at the airport. The women were happy to finally get to know each other for real. Before parting ways, Offglin warned Offred. There was a spy in Commander Waterford's house. Offred was stunned. Now she couldn't trust anyone in this household. At the commander's house, other high-ranking officials had gathered to discuss something in his study. June's life continued as usual, including the ceremonies. She and Offglin went shopping together, trying not to draw suspicion. June shared that she had once worked as an assistant editor. Now, handmaids were forbidden from reading. Offred had been a professor in the university's cytology department. Now, former scientists were sent to the colonies. The women witnessed guards arresting someone right on the street. Later, Offred invited her new friend to join them. There was a resistance, and June could help by learning something from Waterford. When June returned home, Nick warned her to be careful around Offred, saying she was dangerous. He also told her that the commander wanted to see her in his office that evening. It was strange, as handmaids were not allowed to be alone with commanders. June was restless about the upcoming meeting. Rita called her over, as a car had arrived to take all the handmaids to the commander's house. Today, Janine was going to give birth, but no one knew what condition the baby would be in. June recalled the day she had given birth, how Luke had taken her to the hospital. People around them prayed, as childbirth had become a rarity. The commander's wives sat around the mistress of the house, who was pretending to experience labor pains. It looked like mass hysteria. Meanwhile, the handmaids were brought to Janine. She wasn't assisted by doctors, but by the aunts. They kept repeating that she needed to breathe. June was overwhelmed by memories of holding newborn Hannah in her arms. Fortunately, the baby girl was born healthy. A nurse admitted that 2 other newborns were in intensive care, while the rest could not be saved. June told Offred that the commander wanted to see her today, and she had no idea why. Soon, June was called by Mrs. Waterford. The commander's wives wanted to know how Janine's labor was progressing. Mrs. Waterford offered her a cookie, but when June went to the bathroom, she spit it out. Meanwhile, Janine's contractions were becoming more frequent. The mistress of the house was brought in and continued to simulate labor. Before long, the baby was born. Everyone watched with bated breath to see what would happen next. The baby cried. It was a healthy girl. Everyone rejoiced. The child was handed to the mistress of the house. They named her Angela. June embraced a tearful Janine, just as the other handmaids did. 8 years ago, June had woken up in a hospital room and realized that Hannah was gone. Panic broke out. A nurse lay lifeless on the floor. It turned out that a woman had tried to kidnap Hannah, believing she was her own child. Luke had intercepted the perpetrator. Security rushed in. In the car, Offred tried to calm Offred, who was about to meet with the commander. Angela was brought to Janine for feeding. She already had experience. She had once nursed her son, Caleb. Janine started singing a lullaby to her daughter. At 9 in the evening, Offred went to see the commander. He ordered her to close the door behind her and sit down. Mr. Waterford allowed June to look at him, saying that they could disregard the rules. He also said that he wanted to play Scrabble with her. June was shocked by the suggestion. She scored many points, though she let him win at times. He promised that when he returned from his trip, they would have a rematch. June returned to her room, overcome with hysterical laughter. The next day, when she got ready to go shopping, she saw that her friend had been replaced by another handmaid. Offred was gone. June had no choice but to do everything she could to keep herself together. If you enjoyed this short recap of the series and want more, let us know in the comments.